by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
President Trump once again calls for teachers in this country to carry guns. I'm John Schumo in New York, and I'll have that story.
And closer to home, students and staff sheltered in place in Belgrade High yesterday coming up. Why that precaution was taken and what school officials are saying about the action.
Good morning to you and welcome to your Friday. Current time 6:31. As Chet just mentioned, law enforcement in Florida is reeling after learning one of their own was at Parkland shooting last week. Could have been the one to step in to help stop that bloodshed.
Yeah, unfortunately, instead, he stood outside while shots were being fired inside. This as the president is leading the charge calling for more adults inside schools to be armed. CBS's John Schumo has the latest.
The Broward County Sheriff says it made him sick to his stomach to see a new surveillance video that shows an armed officer who was at the Parkland, Florida high school last week during the shooting stand by and do nothing.
What I saw was a deputy arrive at the west side of Building 12, take up a position, and he never went in.
That deputy, Scott Peterson, resigned yesterday after being suspended without pay. This revelation comes on the second day in a row President Trump called for teachers and other school personnel to be armed. He said they should even get paid extra to carry a gun.
Nobody's going to attack that school, believe me, because they're cowards. They don't want to be shot at.
That stance was echoed by the head of the NRA at this week's Conservative Political Action Conference.
Our NFL games, our office buildings, our movie stars, our politicians, they're all more protected than our children at school. Does that make any sense?
President Trump, who will speak today at the same CPAC event, broke slightly with the NRA yesterday, tweeting in part, "I will be strongly pushing comprehensive background checks with an emphasis on mental health, raised age to 21, and end sale of bump stocks." John Schumo, CBS News.
Now, the Broward County Sheriff's Office also placed 2 other deputies on restricted duty. It's looking into whether they properly handled 2 telephone tips the last 2 years, warning that the suspect might be inclined to commit a school shooting.
Now a little bit closer to home, but staying on topic, Belgrade High School was put into shelter-in-place mode yesterday because of a shooting threat. MTN's Morgan Davies has more on what led to that action.
Belgrade police did lift the shelter in place after they determined the threat was not credible, but they did do numerous interviews with students who thought they heard threats of a school shooting. Once the police determined the threat was not credible and students were not in danger, school went about business as usual. However, due to the numerous school shootings over the last month and a half, both Belgrade schools and the police department are taking any mention of a possible threat very seriously.
The students need to know that we need to take every situation seriously, and we are going to take every situation seriously. And they need to be a lot more aware of what is being said and any conversations that they are hearing.
This threat did not produce any criminal charges from the police or any disciplinary actions from the school. And Principal Lamb and the police believe all students and faculty are safe. Police did continue to monitor the property after the shelter-in-place was lifted to ease the minds of parents, students, and faculty. Reporting from Belgrade High School, Morgan Davies, MTN News.
Now 6:34 on this Friday, meteorologist Matt Elwell joins us. We've been talking about dangerously cold temperatures, still dealing with that in some places.
Oh, we are.
I saw a little break. I saw a couple of snowflakes this morning in the headlights of my car.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
It's great, huh?
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, looks like we're going to see a few snowflakes, but most of it's going to be in the mountains, at least through the day today, if we see much at all. One thing that you will see are a lot of coats, hats, mittens, gloves, scarves. Temperatures once again sub-zero in a few areas. And when you factor in the wind, look at that, 15 below is what it feels like at Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport this morning. 13 below in Dillon. It is a cold start to the day, likely to see temperatures back into the teens near 20 again. I think temperatures are trying to warm up a few degrees at a time. I just still don't see any temperatures above the freezing mark. We'll talk more about how long this is all going to last. Plus our chances of snow for the weekend. That's coming up from the Billion Auto Weather Patio. coming up in about 10 minutes.
Thank you, Matt. Now 6:35. Yellowstone National Park officials are reporting another case of sabotage at their bison holding facility at the Stevens Creek area. Sometime Wednesday night, someone cut the fence, and 73 of the 96 bison being held at that facility were able to escape. Now, most of the animals were rounded up again. Yesterday morning, National Park Service is investigating this latest incident. Similar incident happened last month. Now, the bison were being held as part of the park's 2018 Interagency Bison Management Plan.
And a Bozeman man has been arrested 4 times since January, is now being charged with failing to register as a violent offender. According to court documents, 70-year-old Joy Riles has been arrested 4 times between January 18th and February 16th. During the most recent arrest, Riles allegedly stated he's going to force officers to kill him within the next month. In Justice Court, Judge Rick West set Riles' bail at $25,000. Riles was previously arrested in Bozeman in April of 2017 for threatening a group of young boys with a replica of a handgun.
Shifting gears just a bit, for the first time in its history, the Missoula Poverello Center might have to start sending people back into the cold. Night after night of record occupancy in this cold snap has pushed the center to its limits, and it now needs the community help.
205 people slept here at the Poverello Center on Monday night, on mats, on blankets, and on the floor. And that is a record. And it's becoming too much. For the first time in its history, Poverello's leadership is putting a plan in place to cap the sleeping capacity to 190 people a night, knowing that could have dire consequences.
You know, the temperatures are really cold right now. It is, deadly to stay outside right now. And so it is very concerning that if we set a cap, that really puts people's lives in danger.
The Poverello is running out of toilet paper, blankets, and towels. Some are sleeping on the cement floor without mats or blankets for comfort at night. This 25% increase in occupancy is concerning to the Poverello leadership, who believe the POV cannot be the only answer to homelessness.
You know, what happens with folks who aren't able to stay here if we do implement a cap, or when we implement a cap in the next week or so. The community is going to need to come together and figure out what we're going to do, because the POV can't be the solution.
The cold is the biggest reason people are seeking shelter right now, but Executive Director Amy Allison Thompson believes it's part of a more complicated issue.
It just speaks to what's going on in our community right now. We've had a boom of people moving to Montana in the past couple of years. That's a factor, as well as our very low vacancy rate in Missoula. It's around 2 or 3% at any given time. And then also just the fact that people are looking for jobs, and when they do find jobs, they're often underemployed and still not able to afford housing.
Jill Valley, MTN News, Missoula.
Also this morning, a collection of healthcare groups are proposing a voter initiative to extend Montana's Medicaid expansion past 2019. And they want to fund it with $2 per pack increase in the cigarette tax. The measure was submitted for review, and after that's completed, supporters must attempt to qualify it for the November ballot. Montana's expanded Medicaid program is set to expire in June of 2019. The ballot measure would ask voters to approve extending the program past that deadline and then raise tobacco taxes to pay for the state's multi-million-dollar share of those costs. In its first 3.5 years, the tax increase is projected to bring in about $2 billion of federal money into Montana.
And residents and students had the opportunity to listen to a senior NASA official on Thursday. Members of the public and MSU students were invited at MSU's Strand Union Building for an hour-long presentation from Paul McConaughey, who is Associated Director at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, to discuss the future of space exploration. The topic covered when, how, and why of NASA's intent to get to Mars. Dr. McConaughey discussed the importance of the next generation of engineers and scientists, like the student pursuing STEM degrees at MSU, to keep future trip to a possibility to Mars. Now, more than 100 students attended that lecture.
And some of those students may very well be involved in that program. Lots of great work coming out of Montana State University, dumping into NASA, so who knows?
Yeah, little great collaboration efforts.
Absolutely true.
Love that. We do have to take a quick break, but here's a little sneak peek of what's coming up on Montana this morning.
The 2018 Winter Olympics are coming to a close. I'm Dana Jacobson. Coming up, from the odd to the extraordinary, we'll take a look at some of the images you won't soon forget.
Good morning to you. Ahead on CBS This Morning, we'll spend a day at a Colorado school where staff can carry firearms. A teacher shares his decision to voluntarily bring a gun to class and the process he went through to do it. Plus, Ulta Beauty reacts to claims that it resold used products as new. And we talked to a former manager who says she was pressured to do it. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.